I know you're a good person, but how good are you? Not everyone operates with the same intentions. While we strive for connection and harmony, there are those who see these as opportunities to exploit, manipulate, or sow discord. It's hard to accept, isn't it? That someone you trust, someone you let close, could be the source of subtle harm in your life. We tell ourselves we'd notice the signs right away, but the truth? It's rarely the obvious betrayal. It's in the small cracks, words that don't match actions, support that feels conditional, or the creeping sense that something is off but just out of reach. Today, we're exploring 10 subtle signs of a toxic influence. It's a test for you. This isn't just about spotting harm, it's about empowering yourself to stand firm, to protect what matters, and to cultivate resilience, even in the presence of hidden chaos. Stay with me, because seeing the truth isn't just eye-opening. It's the first step toward reclaiming control and thriving in a world where not everyone plays fair. If you're here, you are already in the category of rare. Not everyone likes to hear dark truths. 1. The dark satisfaction of another's pain. Have you ever felt delighted seeing someone suffer? It's not like you wish them misfortune. It's subtle comparing, like a primal devilish fun. It's subtle, often cloaked in a mask of sympathy, but unmistakable. A smile they fail to hide, or a tone too casual for the gravity of your situation. This behavior, known as schadenfreude, reveals a dark but undeniable truth about human nature. Some derive pleasure from others' misfortune. From a Stoic perspective, this behavior represents a failure of virtue. It reflects an inability to connect with others in a meaningful and just way, replacing empathy with selfish satisfaction. Such pleasure is fleeting and corrupts the individual who indulges in it, pulling them further from the Stoic ideal of rational, ethical living. Psychological studies have linked schadenfreude to feelings of insecurity or envy. When someone celebrates your downfall, it's often because your success highlighted their inadequacies. Instead of confronting their inner turmoil, they seek validation in your struggles, feeding their fragile sense of superiority. This destructive pattern fosters a toxic dynamic, eroding trust and mutual respect. For those targeted, the Stoic approach offers clarity. Focus not on their motives, but on your reaction. 2. Do you isolate others for your gain? Have you ever nudged someone, subtly or not, away from their circle, especially a partner's best friend? If you've done this to draw them closer to yourself, the truth might sting. You're not protecting them, you're manipulating them. Isolation for personal gain is one of the most insidious forms of control. It chips away at a person's independence, making them increasingly reliant on you for validation, support, and perspective. You might tell yourself it's for their benefit, they're better off without those distractions, but the underlying motive is about strengthening your hold. When you isolate someone, you remove their sounding boards, leaving your voice as the loudest, sometimes the only. But not all separation is toxic. If you've encouraged someone to leave a harmful or draining relationship, your intent might have been to protect, not control. The distinction is sharp. Are you isolating someone to empower them, or to ensure their dependence on you? The Stoics warn against such behaviors. They teach that relationships thrive on mutual growth, not on control. By isolating others for your benefit, you sever their ties to wisdom, community, and balance. So ask yourself, are you cutting the ties that bind them to harm, or the ones that keep them free from you? 3. Are you sacrificing relationships? Have you ever justified isolating yourself from family, friends, or loved ones to chase a goal? Maybe it's for financial success or personal ambition, but along the way you stopped asking, at what cost? Choosing to isolate yourself can feel like a necessary sacrifice, but is it driven by noble purpose or selfish intent? When you sever ties in the pursuit of personal gain, most of the time it's money. It's easy to frame it as focus or discipline. Yet Stoicism teaches us that humans are inherently social beings, flourishing through relationships that provide balance and wisdom. Walking away from those bonds without regard for their emotional weight isn't strength, it's neglect. There's a stark difference between temporarily stepping back to achieve something meaningful and permanently isolating yourself because you see relationships as obstacles. Over time, isolation fueled by selfish intent erodes empathy, leaving behind only hollow victories. Money or status might fill your pockets, but it can never replace the richness of human connection. Ask yourself, are you pushing people away because you value your goals or because you've stopped valuing them? True Stoic growth doesn't come from turning your back on others, but from finding harmony between personal ambition and shared humanity. 4. Do you ignore the consequences of your actions? Have you ever acted without considering the impact on others? Do you find yourself making decisions based on what's easiest or most advantageous for you, without thinking about how your actions might harm someone else? When you ignore the consequences of your behavior, especially in how it affects others, you not only undermine your own integrity, you compromise your moral foundation. In a world where immediate results and short-term gains are often the driving forces, it's easy to forget that our actions ripple outwards, touching the lives of those around us. Stoicism teaches us to recognize the broader implications of our choices, to be aware of how our decisions affect the well-being of others, and to take responsibility for the consequences, even if they're uncomfortable. If you've ever dismissed someone's feelings or overlooked the impact of your behavior, you've likely neglected a fundamental aspect of what it means to live virtuously. Ignoring the consequences can manifest in many ways, from breaking promises to dismissing people's concerns, or failing to uphold responsibilities to those who depend on you. It's an avoidance of accountability and an abdication of moral responsibility. The Stoic path calls us to a higher standard, one where we are conscious of our actions, weigh their consequences, and strive to live in harmony with others. Ignoring the ripple effect of your choices doesn't just make you a bad person, it leaves a wake of harm, erodes trust, and makes it harder to stay aligned with your own values. Do you own up to the impact of your actions, or do you let the consequences fall where they may? Do you manipulate emotions to maintain control? Do you find yourself twisting someone's emotions to get what you want? Maybe it's subtle, guilt-tripping a friend into agreeing with you or exaggerating your pain to make a partner stay. At first, it might seem harmless, but emotional manipulation is a calculated move, one that creates a false sense of obligation or fear in others. The danger lies in how this behavior entraps. You might tell yourself it's justified. I just want them to see things my way. Or, I need them to understand how much I care. But when you play on someone's empathy or insecurities, you distort their freedom to make choices based on reason. The moment their emotions become tools for your gain, the relationship shifts from mutual respect to control. Now compare this to genuinely expressing your feelings. Being vulnerable and sharing your emotions is not the same as weaponizing them. The difference? Intent. Are you seeking connection, or are you seeking compliance? The Stoics valued clarity and honesty in relationships. They believed that emotions should inform, not dictate, our interactions. So, if you're manipulating someone's feelings to keep them close or maintain power, pause. Ask yourself, are you building a connection or are you building a cage? 6. Do you value trust? Have you ever betrayed someone's confidence, not out of malice, but to shift the odds in your favor? Maybe you revealed a secret to gain leverage, or twisted someone's vulnerabilities to steer a situation in your direction. It's easy to justify such actions in the moment, but eroding trust isn't just a breach of integrity, it's a deliberate dismantling of the bond that holds relationships together. Trust is fragile, like a delicate thread connecting two people. Once broken, it doesn't just snap. It unravels, leaving both sides isolated. By betraying someone's trust, you may gain short-term benefits, but the long-term cost is steep. Trust is often bigger than any short-term gain. Now, consider the alternative, honoring the confidence placed in you even when it's inconvenient. This choice strengthens the foundation of your relationships, fostering loyalty and mutual respect. Integrity builds genuine rapport. To betray trust for personal gain is to undermine your own moral foundation. If you've found yourself using someone's secrets or vulnerabilities as tools, ask, are you strengthening the ties that bind you, or are you cutting them to serve your own interests? 7. Are you controlling others for your benefit? In a scale of 1 to 10, how controlling are you? Have you ever found yourself subtly controlling the actions or thoughts of others? Not through force, but by manipulating their emotions and decisions for your own advantage. It's easy to convince yourself that you're doing what's best for everyone involved, but is that really the case? Strength comes from self-mastery, not the manipulation of those around us. Control, in any form, is a distortion of natural harmony. When you use guilt, fear, or even affection to control someone's actions, whether it's a friend, partner, or family member, you're no longer engaging in a relationship of mutual respect. Instead, you're asserting dominance, placing your desires above their well-being. Manipulating someone's emotions, whether to gain something tangible or just to assert your own power, is a serious violation of trust and respect. While you may justify it as necessary for the greater good or for their own good, the reality is much darker. You're shaping their world to serve your needs, not theirs. Ask yourself, in your relationships, are you trying to uplift others, or are you using them as pawns in your own personal game? True Stoic growth comes from fostering equality, fairness, and mutual respect. If your relationships feel like a series of transactions instead of connections, it's time to reevaluate. While influencing someone for greater good is permissible, but manipulating is a strict no-no. 8. Are you dismissing others' boundaries for your own convenience? Have you ever ignored or outright disregarded someone's boundaries because it didn't suit your needs at the moment? Maybe it was a small thing at first, a joke when they weren't comfortable, or a favor they didn't want to do. But over time, these little violations become patterns. In the short term, it feels like you've won, but what are you really losing? Stoicism teaches us that respecting others' boundaries is fundamental to maintaining our own peace of mind and moral integrity. Boundaries are not just lines drawn in the sand. They are markers of respect, autonomy, and trust. When you continuously cross these lines for your own convenience, you risk eroding the very foundation of the relationship. It's easy to convince yourself that just this once doesn't matter, that pushing someone's boundaries a little isn't a big deal. But every time you ignore someone's limits, you reduce their sense of safety and self-worth, and you diminish your own integrity. This is a slow, silent erosion of trust and respect, and ultimately, it reveals a deeper truth. You're using others, not engaging with them, as equals. The Stoic path demands that we treat others as we would want to be treated, without manipulation, without disregard for their personal space. If you find yourself regularly violating boundaries, it may be time to face the uncomfortable truth that you are taking more than you're giving in your relationships. And that, my boy, makes you a real bad person. 9. Are you deflecting responsibility for your actions? Have you ever found yourself making excuses when things go wrong, shifting blame onto someone else, or avoiding accountability for a mistake? It's tempting, isn't it, to sidestep responsibility, especially when the consequences might harm your reputation or standing. But in doing so, you create a cycle of denial, weakening your character and your capacity for growth. Yet, Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in owning up to our faults, understanding them, and learning from them. When we refuse to take responsibility for our actions, we fail to grow. Instead of confronting our shortcomings, we deflect, blame others, and often leave others to clean up the mess. In essence, we refuse to face the reality that we too are imperfect, and in that refusal, we remain stagnant. There's an underlying weakness in constantly avoiding responsibility. It's an attempt to preserve the illusion of perfection, but the truth is far harsher. By evading accountability, we cheat ourselves of the opportunity to improve and become better versions of ourselves, 10. Do you disrespect others once your deal is done? Have you ever worked with someone, built a relationship based on mutual respect, but once the work is finished, you forget about them? You take the benefits and walk away, no longer acknowledging their contributions? It's easy to fall into the trap of treating people as tools to be used for a specific purpose. Once that purpose is served, they are discarded. But have you considered the cost of this behavior? In business and personal relationships, it's easy to respect someone when you need something from them. You show kindness, appreciation, and even admiration while the transaction is beneficial. But once the deal is done, the respect often fades away. It's as if the person is only valuable when they're serving your interests. When the work is finished, do you forget their effort, their time, or the trust they put in you? Stoicism teaches us that true respect isn't transactional. It's not about what others can do for you. It's about seeing their inherent value and treating them with dignity regardless of the outcome. If your respect for someone is conditional on your personal gain, then your respect was never truly about them. Leaving someone behind once their usefulness is over is a violation of the Stoic values of justice and integrity. It's a betrayal of the principle that we are all interconnected and that we should treat others with fairness and honor, no matter the circumstances. If you've ever treated someone this way, it's time to reflect. Are you truly living in alignment with your higher values? Or have you allowed convenience and self-interest to cloud your judgment? Treating people with respect should never have an expiration date. Hope you've liked this video. You're a chosen one. Like water, mine takes the shape of its thought. I hope this video helps you see the world with a clearer vision and makes your virtue and introspection stronger. I hope you will appreciate another video on dark truth of the society. Just click on the screen. Thanks for watching.